we feel like we're stuck at home. But during Story Hour, we're going to go all over the world. And the first country we're going to visit is Norway. This is one of the most famous songs that exists in Norway. As you can guess, the title of it is Veronica. And it's about a man who's hopelessly in love with a young woman called Veronica. And in this song, he tells her every single reason that she should also fall in love with him and stay with him forever. In Norway and in the United States, we love songs about princes and princesses and love and romance. But there's some things about the countries that are really different. One of them is that in America, every day, the sun rises. And it goes around. And it sets. And when it sets, the moon rises. And it goes around. And it sets. And the sun rises. And this happens day after day after day. And in late summer, sometimes, if we're up at exactly the right moment looking at the sky, we can see both the sun and the moon in the sky. Often the moon just looks like a pink shadow, and the sun is just rising or just setting. But in Norway, it's really different. In the summer, the sun rises and it stays up in the sky for days and weeks and months. It's daylight, day after day after day. At 4 o'clock in the morning and at midnight and midday, the sun is in the sky. And that's why Norway is called the land of the midnight sun. And then in the winter, it's exactly the opposite. It's nighttime. It's nighttime for days and weeks and months. And as you can imagine, people need things to do when it's dark all day long. Can you imagine if you woke up and you were getting ready for school and it was dark? And you walked to school and it was dark, and you went out for recess and it was dark, and you came home and it was dark. So what people do, of course, is that they sing songs and they tell stories. And the stories they tell are about the amazing country of Norway and all the people there and all the families and all the adventures, and also about all the creatures of Norway. There's two more things I want to tell you before I read you our story. The first is that there's these very special coins in Norway. They're called kroner, and you can look through the hole in them. You can see it if you lean in and look close. So you can use the kroner to buy something very, very small, like part of a cup of coffee, or you could put a string through it and make it into a necklace. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is that there are these sweaters that people wear when it's dark all the time because it's very cold and very north. And they have these beautiful wool sweaters with patterns in them, and everyone has one. And the really special part about these sweaters is that they're handed down through families. So it may be that the sweater that you're wearing was your great, 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 great grandfather's sweater, and the person who knitted it was your great, 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 great grandmother. The story I'm going to read you today is called The Golden Bird, and it's a story about three brothers, one brother in particular. The Golden Bird. There was once a king who had a garden. In that garden stood an apple tree, and on that tree there grew each year a golden apple. But when the time came to pick it, it was gone. Nobody knew who had taken it nor what had become of it, but gone it was. The king had 3 sons, so one day he told them that the one who could recover the apple or catch the thief should inherit the kingdom after him, no matter whether he was the eldest, the youngest, or the middle. The eldest brother set out first and sat down under the tree to wait for the thief. As night was drawing near, a golden bird came flying, and it shone from afar. But when the king's son saw the bird and the light, he became so frightened that he dare not stay, but ran home as fast as his legs would carry him. In the morning, the apple had disappeared. But now the king's son had regained his courage, and so he started fitting himself out, for he wanted to go away to look for the golden bird. The king equipped him well and spared neither clothes nor money. When the king's son had traveled a while, he became hungry, and taking up his knapsack, he sat down by the roadside and started to eat. Just then, a fox came out from under a grove of fir trees and sat down and looked at him. "Please, give me a little food," said the fox. "I'll give you some burnt bread," said the king's son. "I need all the food for myself, so nobody knows how far or how long I shall have to travel." "Well, that was that," said the fox, and then he went back to the woods again. When the prince had eaten and rested, he continued on his way. After a while, he came to a big city, and in that city was an inn where there was always great merriment and never sorrow. "This must be a fine place to stay," thought the prince to himself, so he remained there. And there was so much dancing and eating and pleasure and fun that he forgot all about the golden bird and the apple and his father and the journey and the whole kingdom. Gone he was, and gone he stayed. The next year, the middle son was to try to catch the apple thief in the garden. Well, he sat under the tree too when the apple was almost ripe, and all at once the golden bird came one night, shining like a sun. But the boy became so frightened that he took to his heels and ran home as fast as he could. But the same thing happened to him as happened to his elder brother. When he woke up in the morning, he had regained his courage. He started fitting himself out, and the king equipped him well and spared neither clothes nor money, and he took his knapsack. He sat down to have lunch by the side of the road, and the fox came out from the grove of the trees and sat down to watch. "Please, give me a little food," said the fox. "I'll give you burnt bread, I will," said the king's second son. "Nobody knows how far or how long I shall have to travel, so I need all the food for myself." "Well, what was that?" said the fox, and then he went back to the woods again. When the king's son had eaten and rested a while, he continued on his way again. After a while, he came to the same city and the same inn, where there was always merriment and never sorrow. And he, too, thought it was a good place to stay. And the first one he met was his brother, so he stayed there. His brother had feasted so much and partied so much that he hardly had any clothes left on his back. But now they began all over again. And there was much dancing and drinking and pleasure and fun. And the second brother also forgot about the bird and the apple and his father and the journey and the whole kingdom. Gone he was, and gone he stayed too. There was a third son, and the third son was very different than the other two. And when the year rolled around again, and the apple was almost ripe, the youngest son went to talk to his parents. And he said to his mother, "Mama, I also want a chance. to try to get the golden apple or to catch the thief. And his mother said, You are so lazy. You do nothing but sit by the fire and dream. And he turned to his father and he said, Papa, I would really like a chance to catch the thief or to try to get the apple. And his father said, You, my youngest son, you are nothing but laziness, and I have spent all my money and all my willpower trying to get my sons back, and what have they done? Gone and stayed in town and never come home. And the youngest son said, Mama, Papa, but I too would just like to have the chance. And his parents looked at each other, and they looked away, and they looked back, and they sighed, and they nodded, and they said that indeed he could have a chance to get the golden apple. So the son took his knapsack, and he took a picnic, and he went right up into the tree where the golden apple was hanging. And as soon as the moon rose, he heard the golden bird. And the golden bird shone so brightly that there was light everywhere. And the youngest son was not afraid at all. He climbed the tree and he grabbed, reached for the golden bird, and it got away. But he got one feather from its tail. And he ran into his father's bedroom and he said, Papa, I almost got it. Look, I have this feather. Please, could I go to town too? Could I go to town and could I have a nice suit of clothes, and I will travel the world and I will find the golden apple. And his father said, Okay. So the third son took his new suit of clothes and he began to walk towards the town with the feather in his knapsack. And as he was walking, he heard a little voice, and the voice said, Please, sir, may I have a little bit of food? And it was the fox. And the third son said, Well, I'm not sure. I don't have very much food or very much money, but I suppose I could give you just a bit of bread and just a bit of cheese and some water. And the fox said, Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will help you in your quest. Now, the very first thing you need to know is that you mustn't go into town. And the third son said, But I want to go into town. I want to see my brothers. And the fox said, Oh no, you must go immediately to try to find the golden bird and the apple. And the third son said, No, I'll be fine. And indeed, he went down into the town and he found his brothers, and they were dancing and they were partying and they were having a great time. And the fox said, Please, you need to leave. You need to come with me. I can help you find the golden apple. And indeed, the son had almost forgotten what he was supposed to be doing. So they walked, and they walked, and they walked, and they walked, and the son said, How far away are we talking about? And the fox said, Well, we have to go just about 300 miles. And the son said, 300 miles, that's so far. And the fox said, But there, you'll find what you're looking for. So they walked and they walked, and they came to a castle. And the fox said, Now, listen carefully to me. When you get to the castle, you'll see a golden linden tree, and the bird will be perched in the golden linden tree, and you must take the feather and hold it out to the bird, and the bird will land on your hand but you mustn't take even a branch of the golden linden tree. And the son said, okay, I can do that, I can do that. So he bravely walked to the back of the castle, and he took the feather out of his knapsack, just like he had been told. And he held it up to the bird. And indeed, the bird immediately landed in his hand. But he saw the linden tree, and it was all made of gold, and he thought, well, it can't possibly hurt if I just take one little twig. And so he transferred the bird to his shoulder, and he reached and he just took one twig, and the moment he took one twig, he heard a stomping. And it was a terrible, terrible sound. It was a heavy, heavy stomping, and it was a troll. And the troll said, "What are you doing in my castle?" And the boy said, "Oh, well, I was just looking at the bird and the linden tree." And the troll said, "Now you are my prisoner forever." And the son said, No, please don't keep me your prisoner. I'll give you anything. What can I give you?" And the troll said, "Well, the only way that you won't be my prisoner is if you go to the castle of my enemy that's 300 miles that way, and you bring me the horse and the bridle that he stole from me." And the son said, okay, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do immediately. Please don't hurt me." And so he went and told the fox, and the fox said, "Why didn't you do just what I asked you to do?" And the son said, "I don't know, that the linden tree was so nice, and I thought it wouldn't hurt just to have one little golden twig." And the fox said, "Please, next time, just do what I ask you to do." And so they walked, and they walked, and they walked, and they walked for another 300 miles, where they came to a castle that was even bigger than the first. And the fox said, "Now listen to me. When you go into the stable to get the horse, you must take the plainest leather bridle. Do not take one of the fancy bridles that are covered with jewels or gold." And the third son said, "Oh yes, absolutely. I'm going to go in and I'm going to take the leather bridle. I'm going to do just what you told me." But he went into the stable and he saw the most beautiful bridles. And they had gold and silver and rubies, and they were so pretty. And he thought, well, it couldn't hurt if I just take, one single golden bridle. Who's really missing a golden bridle? And so he took it, just to see how it would look on the beautiful, beautiful horse. And then he heard a terrible, terrible, terrible stomping, and a troll came out, and the troll said to him, "What are you doing with my horse?" And the third son said, "Oh, I was just kind of looking. I saw the bridles and they looked really nice. And anyway, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. What can I do for you? What can I do for you?" And the troll said, "Well, the only thing you can do for me is go to my neighbor 300 miles in that direction and take what he stole from me, the princess." And the third son said, "Oh yes, absolutely, I'll do it. Absolutely, no problem, sir. Right away, I'll get right on that. I'll bring you the princess." And so he came back out and he explained the situation to the fox, and the fox said, "Why didn't you just do what I asked you to do?" And the third son said, "Well, I don't know. The bridle didn't really seem like it would be doing any harm. And anyway, we're fine. 300, what's 300 more miles in a day of 900 miles, right?" And so they walked, and they walked, and they walked, and they walked. And eventually, they came to the biggest castle of all. And the third son said, "All right, I'm ready to go in." And the fox said, oh no, this time it will be me who goes in." And indeed, the fox went in, and he came out with a beautiful princess. And the princess turned to the third son, and she said, "Hello." And the son turned to her and he said, "Hello." And the fox said, "No, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough. We have to go. I hear the third troll coming. I hear him, I hear him, I hear him. Quick, 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 quick. Just go. I'll distract him." So the third son and the princess ran and ran and ran and ran. And they went to the second castle and they grabbed the horse and the bridle and they jumped on it and they rode back, and they picked up the fox. And the fox jumped on the horse with them, and they rode, 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 and they got to the first castle, and there was the bird and the linden tree, and they grabbed the tree, and they grabbed the bird, and they took it with them, the fox and the princess and the son, and they rode back to town. And when they arrived in town, the third son was so excited, and so he went to tell his brothers. He said, "Look, I found it all. I found it. Here's the linden tree, and the bird, and the horse, and the princess." But his brothers were very, very jealous. And they took him, and they hid him in a cave. And they took the princess, and they took the tree, and they took the bridle, and the horse, and the bird. But as soon as the sun was gone, the princess became very pale, and very quiet, and very sad. And the horse stopped running, and the bird stopped singing, and the golden linden tree stopped blooming, and even the bridle didn't look shiny anymore. And so the fox went out, and he found the sun hidden in the cave, and he said, "Come, come, nothing is the same without you. Come. Come back to all that you have found." And the third son said, "But I don't know if I'm worthy of all these things. I'm no hero." And the fox said, "Yes, yes. You gave me food. You came back to get me. Remember that heroes are not born. Heroes are made." And so then the third son stood up a little taller, and he marched back into the inn where his brothers were partying and dancing. And he held out his hand to the princess, and she came with him. And the bird landed on his shoulder. And they took the tree and the horse, and the fox and the princess and the third son arrived again at the kingdom where the son and the princess were married. And at the moment that they exchanged vows, suddenly the fox transformed into a prince who was the brother of the princess and had been enchanted. They never found the golden apple, but they didn't need it anymore. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.